Hey, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. My name is Ajay Kumar Mahapatra, and I'm going to talk about the email management primer. So basically, it's about the nuts and bolts about email management. How do you manage the emails that reaches you at your inbox, and how do you interact, interpret, communicate using your emails with your friends, colleagues, clients, and customers, stakeholders. So I believe you'd agree with me that email communication is equally important to that of verbal communication, if not more. So more so in the corporate world when you are connected to the world uh, and communicate with them electronically. This mode of communication is very tricky. Tricky in the sense that the you are not able to see the center of the communication, or you do not see who is the sender. You just understand through the email the mood, the emotion, the structure, the tone by going through the wordings of the email. Now the question in your head would be like, uh, what is there to learn new about email management? As such, everyone is using the email system to communicate with their clients. So what is something new, or what are the tips and tricks or any productivity hacks that can be learned? So yes, I would say since most of you are already using email communication in one way or other, so everybody knows about it. But this particular uh, talk is just to uh, enhance or just to revisit the basics of the email management, and that's the reason I have put it as primer. So it is mostly to bolster the basics of email management, and I'll also in my talk share a few tips and tricks which will help us communicate over email more effectively and efficiently. So fortunately, in my earlier days working with the Amazon.com project, so there we were required to communicate with American and European customers over email, and that's the reason we were also trained how to write emails and what should be the structure, what is the opening, how should be the salutation and greetings, and what would be the opening of the email, how you should write the body of the email, and how you should conclude the closure of the email. So since our emails used to go directly to the customers, so our emails were initially used to undergo the scrutiny of the quality people, or a group called quality auditors. So then you used to find any loopholes uh, in our emails based on certain structure, email structure, email format is correct or not, or our response covered all the areas identified by the sender of the email, and whether we have done enough R&D. R&D here means whether we have gone back to the history of the email and have taken enough pain to see that what was the pain point of the customer or the sender of the email, and whether we have addressed that or not. So all those things were taken as part of the analysis for the emails that has gone from the sender side, and I hope you are following with me on the importance of the email. So now let me talk more about the importance of email. The first point being responding to the email based on its urgency. So let's say the sender of email asks for the status or the resolution of any issue. So it is important that as a responder we have to respond the email immediately. So immediately doesn't mean that um, you, without understanding the crux of the issue or crux of the, knowing the background of the issue, you would just directly respond to him. So immediately means even if you do not know, at least respond to the email saying that yes, we are looking into it, we will get back to you in 2 hours or 3 hours, whatever the case may be. So depending on the criticality and urgency of that email. So probably you can respond by saying this issue is currently being looked into, and I'll get back to you in next 2 hours, 4 hours. So this what happens. This actually makes the sender a little relaxed. He thinks, oh, at least there is somebody who is looking into my email, and I'm sure it will get resolved ultimately. So there you have this calming effect on the the customer. So when the sender's email is not answered, or there is a significant amount of delay getting the response, then the person at the other side, his or her ego gets hurt, and there the understanding gap in the understanding comes into picture. So primarily the tip is to understand the stakeholder. What is his work habits? What is his email habits? In which particular section of email he or she usually puts the information that he really wants or asks the questions. So those kinds of things. Second, being email communication commitment fulfillment. So if in any of your earlier emails you have kind of committed something to the customer saying that I would get back to you in 2 hours, and 2 hours have already elapsed, and now you the reason could be that the issue has not been resolved, then you kind of presume that okay, since the issue is not resolved, what is the point in writing to the customer again? But there the problem arises. So when you have committed something to respond back after a certain duration of time, make it a rule, that a thumb rule, that you got to respond saying that even if it is issue is not resolved, respond saying that we have the proposed solution that we thought of is somehow is not working, or it is taking more time, so we will request you to wait for another couple of hours, or let's say 6 hours or 8 hours, whatever. So we are facing this challenges, so we'll get back to you. So if you provide the interim status or communication, that kind of eases the tension out of the customer's mind, and they're assured that yes, people are looking into it, and they're also sending updates about it. But ensure the communication goes to the stakeholder. He should not be in a limbo waiting for you, and you in your own world safely assume that what is the use of letting the customer know when the issue is not fixed. Okay, so the other important point is reminders and a to-do list. So it's basically reminders and follow-up. So it is but natural that we as human beings will forget to respond to some of the action items, since you would have a lot of tasks to do, and there would be a lot many emails in your inbox. So that's the reason it is important to maintain a to-do list or setting up a reminder so that you can respond to the urgent emails, critical emails on time, and you take the proper follow-up on the prioritized items. Next one being the importance of subject line. Basically, the subject line is the face of the email. So this is the first thing that you notice about an email, and that gives you the indication that what is in store for you. So misleading subject line definitely misleads the the folks that the email is going to receive by them. So for a better email management, ensure the subject line is perfect, which conveys the reason for which you're sending the email to the receiver. So I'll talk about it in some time in detail, so that there are a couple of points, those are very important. Now, other importance of email communication being the opening of the email, and then I talked about the body of the email and closure of the email. Okay, so when I say opening, any for any kind of communication, the opening, body, conclusion of the message, be it a email or a talk that you are going to present or a speech, it is equally important. So talking about emails, you should have on the part of opening something like thank you for writing to us with your concerns, issues. So this is could be one opening. When you also need to put the proper salutation with the proper spelling of the person you are addressing to, and you can opening as part of opening you can write thank you for sharing this critical information. So that kind of gives a good feeling to the receiver. Okay, and body of the email is definitely crucial, since in the email body you address, inform or update the sender. So here if there are two or more um, issues or you know pointed out by the client, then ensure that all those points are answered in a separate section. So different paragraphs, you maintain different paragraphs to address all the issues highlighted. It should not be the case that if there are two or three queries asked by the customer, and you take a liberty of answering the easy ones and leave out the complex questions asked by the client or customer. So uh, I mean, do not try to act smart, thinking that let me respond only the easy one. So that usually backfires. And another important point I would like to mention over here is do not jump to the conclusion or train your gun. So when there is any escalation or accusation over email, so it is a usual practice or usual human tendency to respond back immediately with the same vengeance. So, but let me tell you, or trust me, guys. So this doesn't work. So my suggestion would be whenever any accusation or escalation happens over email, and something is pointed out to you, or there are fingers pointed at you, then take your time, be relaxed, keep your cool, and do not reply the email if your head is not calm or cool. So I would suggest that take your time. Once you think that you have got the crust of the issue, or why the other person is answering in a aggressive mode, try to understand their viewpoint as well, and then answer with all your evidence. Okay, it's always better to show your maturity. So in certain situations, based on severity and criticality of the circumstance, I would suggest that you pick up the phone and talk to that other person instead of writing a um, you know story about it, writing 3-4 pages of email about it. So it's better to avoid that and to pick up the phone and discuss and get that issue resolved. So then comes the email closer. Closer or ending of your email is equally important here. You keep the channel of communication open for any clarification, or at best you can summarize your points in the email, and then you have the signature of the email. Yeah. And now let me go to the tips and tricks of communication, and these are really important. So the first point being the use of reference tags. So why I'm trying to put the tips and tricks is basically the primary objective of every email is that it must be seen by the intended recipients. So if you can make his or her job easy, then it is for your benefit. So the first trick I would like to share is, as I mentioned on the screen, use reference tags, the person name, PO, purchase order or ticket number, status tag. Okay, so the example being, so subject, so the subject clearly says that it is about a resume or CV for a marketing manager, and who has reference, who has provided the reference. So that's how it's very clear. So you have already in the subject line given all the details that makes the uh, receiver understand for whose reference is this and for what position, and it's about a resume. And the second one, you see a tag of important. So whenever the receiver um, reads this particular subject line, he or she gets attracted by seeing the taglines, especially with something urgent or important. So he or she immediately takes action on that. Had it been without us, without the tags, then probably it will go unnoticed. Then the third is, uh, so suppose already uh, the sender has already sent out the email to you and you have received it, and just to give a notification that I have already received and gone through that, you just in the subject line put it as EOM, that is end of message. It is more like a um, what you call a short messaging system conveying to the sender that I have received the message. Okay, and the last one, again, it's a subject line with a status tag saying that urgent. So it's a weekly status report as on this date with urgent sign. So probably the receiver receives weekly status emails on a regular basis, but couple of emails stand out because there is this subject line has this tag of urgency or urgent. So definitely he or she would understand that yes, probably I need to go through this email because it has some urgent information or some urgent actions to be taken, right? The second being indicate purpose. So the other important aspect of a subject line is that the purpose of the email should be made available in the subject line itself. It should be clear, concise, and descriptive enough so that the receiver understands the purpose. Okay. And the other one being indicate timeline, date, duration, and deadline. Let me show you one example. So here you see a set of subject lines. First being the email training, okay, and the second is a clear indication of it is about a invitation for training, and the training is on email, and the location is let's say Pune, and the date of training is 25th July. So it is concise, yet it conveys the clear message to the receiver, whereas in the first case it was a generic one saying email training. Okay, to try to follow the second one. Similarly, in this particular set of example, the first being only talks about a new tariff plan, and the second subject line, it is pretty clear. It says this tariff plan is applicable pan India and effective from or effective starting from 1st of August. So I hope you guys are understanding the difference between the subject line and the second one's how it plays out so well, right? I will move to the next one. So this is indicating a response type in the subject line, whether it's a invitation, whether it is about approval, or whether it is about cancellation. Okay. Now you look at this set of subject line. The first one is vision statement meeting, and second was is a request for meeting, and the meeting is for vision statement, discussing about vision statement of an organization, and it also kind of gives detail when uh, what date and day of the meeting. So that is pretty clear again. So it is invitation, so request for meeting. So you can, if you put all these tags or all these details in the subject line, later point in time it would be easier for you to search in your inbox. So that's the advantage of it. Second one, again, it is about an invitation for PMR meeting on a particular date. Third one is approval needed. So you have requested for a casual leave, and you have sent it to your supervisor. So when you put its approval needed, the supervisor also understands that yes, here the employee has asked for seeking my approval. So he takes action on that. Had it been a simple one, a generic one, then usually the supervisor overlooks it. And the third one is invoice attached, and in the tag it has been clearly mentioned that it's for records only, so it is just for records, no action needs to be taken. Okay, now let me go to reminders and follow-ups, the next one. So reminders follow-ups, it works really good. So sometimes what happens, you have given an email to somebody uh, and he doesn't act on that, then you can send a reminder. So reminder, the style could be, you can say, send a reminder and August 2020 travel cost approval pending, and then the next mail could be reminder 1, reminder 2, reminder 3. Maybe after 3 reminders you can fairly assume that it is deemed accepted or deemed approved kind of thing. And sent again also indicates the same thing, saying that you have already sent it out, now again I'm sending it. So it is kind of a reinforcing message to the sender, saying that the first time you did not act on it, I'm sending it again, I hope this time you will act on it. So um, this becomes very easy for the receiver as well as sender to reinforce things, and the receiver definitely feels bad that okay, it has been a couple of times I have not taken any action, let me take it urgently. Okay, the next one is attachment version links. So for email attachment is very important that in the subject line you mention what is the subject is about. It is about, in this case it's about travel requisition form, and you have mentioned about the version number as well. So 5.2, version 5.2. So sometimes what happens, there have been a lot of discussion over email and a lot of review on that particular format or form, here in this case the travel requisition form. But when you update something, you have to provide the version number, and if that is available in the email itself, subject line itself, it becomes easier to find out in a later date and time, and you can share it across later on. Similarly, the other subject line example being travel budget 2021 and attachment. So here you have indicated that this email contains one attachment, so the receiver should not oversee that. He or she will definitely go through that attachment and see what it contains. And then it's don'ts of email. So do nots of email mostly talks about, these are the subject line which is a big no-no, because first one you see the subject line all in caps. So all in caps in subject line is a big no-no. So it is considered to be rude to write in caps. So one or two caps is fine, but that mostly to catch the attention of the reader. But putting extra thing in the caps is more like committing a crime. So another one is the other one, 3. You see, it was nice meeting you. Hi and greetings. It is more like friendly way of communicating. It's very casual. So in subject line, if you put something of conversational style of communication, that doesn't work in business communication. So you should avoid it. And last but not the least is the ease of search. So all this that I talked about, um, or is basically enhances the searchability. Uh, so when you look for a particular email from your email box at a later point in time, then it definitely helps you if you put tags, if you put certain uh, detailed information in the subject line. So you can type in the data tag or date tag, and it becomes easy. So another important thing is that in the subject line, please avoid spelling errors, because if the spelling errors persist, and then at a later point in time, if you search using the correct spelling, then you will not get any results. So even there is one spelling error to start with, but later on if you see any spelling error at the same time, I would suggest then and there correct it. So that's that's more of the crash tips of tricks of communication. uh, these are the finishing touches of email management. That's I mean, I have already covered as part of the previous slides. Just to read out the pointers. So do not be sloppy in an attempt to be friendly. So don't get over friendly, or don't get you know the, maintain the balance between getting over friendly and becoming too impersonal. So maintain the balance. Watch your grammar, spelling, and punctuation is very important. That shows how that shows whether you are lazy or you are focused on your work. If there are too much of grammar or spelling mistakes or punctuation mistakes, then the other person knows that yes, this guy or this person is not focusing on his work, or he's lazy. So let's not do business with these people. And the third one is avoid talking aimlessly in emails. So email communication, so do not talk too much things. So stick to your point. If there are a question asked, uh, put your views or put your answers to the point. And we have discussed about choose your subject wisely. And the next point being keep your emails organized. That is pretty important. That is pretty important. And as you move up the ladder and you get hundreds of emails on a daily basis, it is imperative that you have a good email organization skill. And then we talked about reply to emails promptly. Then there is the delivery request and sending request receipts. And also how important is that you attach smaller files and compress them when you send attachments, so that the other person can download and easily see them. And it is also important to not put too many things in the content of email. Instead, if there are more content, ensure that you put it in a Word file or Excel file, whatever the case may be, and attach it. And always watch your tone in the email communication. It's very important, since you are not able to see the other person. So whatever you write, which tone you write, that is very important. It should not show a sign of sarcasm. It should not show. It should be to the point, maintaining the balance between over friendly and impersonal, and sending the emails on time. Avoid sending emails for discussion which are better done face to face. So it is primarily, if you see quite a few to and fro's over email for a certain topic, it is uh, it is recommended that you pick up the phone and discuss out the issues that the email talks about with your customer and get it done. So this is uh, in a nutshell. This is in a nutshell the primer for email management, the basics of email management. Hope you had a great time, and hope you implement the tips and tricks of email management and get benefited. Thank you so much.